The night, and its lamentable outcome, groaned under the heavy irony. It was ironic that of all places for the United States to miss out on its first World Cup since 1986, it should happen in Trinidad and Tobago. That was the very country where the Yanks qualified for the 1990 edition, played in Italy, with a last-minute goal by Paul Caligiuri that broke a World Cup drought dating back to 1950 and began what we considered the modern era. It was ironic that one of the teams to benefit from the USA's unfathomable 2-1 slip-up in Couva on Tuesday was Panama. 4 years ago, late goals by an already qualified US in Panama kept the Canaleros out of the 2014 World Cup as Mexico squeezed in instead. It was ironic too that whereas the US bailed out archrival Mexico then, El Tri lost only its second game of this final round of qualifying, just when the Americans needed them to win. The Mexicans twice gave up leads to their Honduran hosts before losing 3-2. Coupled with Panama's 2-1 home win over Costa Rica, which, like Mexico, was already through to Russia, and the American defeat that sealed the USA's unthinkable fate. But irony is never any consolation. If anything, it worsens the sting. So now follows a period of deep mourning for a national soccer community that had come to assume that this sort of humiliating absence from a World Cup was no longer a possibility. After all, 7 straight appearances at the biggest event in sports had turned the Yanks into a regional juggernaut, albeit never a global one. For years, the conversation had been about when the Americans would finally compete for the title at the World Cup. Not about when they would miss one altogether. But here we are. Time for deep introspection, an honest assessment of a failure that was unexpected and yet entirely avoidable. Tuesday night, which instantly became infamous, was a final nail in the coffin that the US didn't even realize it was laying in, but it also fashioned with its own hands. The loss was the culmination of a disastrous qualifying campaign in which the Americans didn't reach the final round with much comfort and then proceeded to win just 3 games out of 10 and switch managers mid-cycle for the first time in 3 decades. For as many awful displays as the US gave, perhaps the remarkable thing is that it only fell a single goal short of reaching Russia. An equalizer against TNT would have ensured a direct berth and even avoided a playoff. It had been evident for years that the senior national team program had grown stale under Jurgen Klinsmann. So when the first 2 games in the so-called hexagonal round were lost last November, he was ousted in favor of Bruce Arena, the veteran manager who had coached the team at the 2002 World Cup with great success, and then in 2006, when his side had flamed out.